Picture this: a crisp morning, the kind where the air feels clean and the sun's just starting to warm your face. You're out for a walk, maybe with your dog or just your thoughts, and for the first time in years, you feel a spark, a lightness in your step, a clarity in your mind, a sense that you're not just going through the motions, but actually living. That's what I want for you, and that's why we're here today. If you watched my last video, a men's health specialist with over 3 decades helping men over 60 reclaim their strength, their drive, and that quiet confidence that makes life feel full. You learned about 3 vitamins, D, B12, and E, that can transform your energy, circulation, and vitality. And judging by the 100,000+ views and the flood of comments, that message hit home. Men like you, from all walks of life, are saying, "Doc, I'm ready to feel like myself again." So today, we're taking it further. We're building on that foundation with practical, science-backed steps to amplify your results. Steps you can start tonight. Let's start with a story. A few months back, I met Tom, a 69-year-old retired mechanic with hands like leather and a laugh that could fill a room. Tom came to me because he felt like his life was shrinking. "Doc," he said, leaning forward in my office, "I used to fix engines, chase my kids around, and make my wife smile just by walking in the door. Now, I'm winded climbing stairs. I nap more than my grandkids, and honestly, I'm dodging moments with my wife because I'm afraid I'll let her down." His voice cracked just a bit, and I could see the weight of it, not just the fatigue, but the fear that he was losing the man he'd always been. Tom wasn't alone. I hear this from men every week. Good men, strong men, men who've built lives they're proud of, but feel their bodies betraying them. The good news? Tom's story didn't end there, and neither does yours. What Tom and so many others don't realize is that vitality isn't just about vitamins. It's about habits that wake your body up. The vitamins we talked about last time, D for circulation, B12 for energy, E for hormonal health, they're the spark plugs. But habits, they're the engine. And one of the most powerful habits you can start with is movement. Not marathons, not gym memberships you'll never use, but deliberate, purposeful movement that fits your life. Let's break it down. Your body is designed to move. But after 60, it's not just about staying active, it's about moving smart. Why? Because as you age, your muscles lose mass faster, your joints stiffen, and your heart has to work harder to keep blood flowing where it matters. Your brain, your muscles, your masculinity. Movement isn't just exercise, it's medicine. Take Tom. When we started, he could barely walk a mile without feeling wiped out. I didn't send him to a gym or tell him to lift weights. Instead, I gave him a simple plan. 20 minutes of walking every morning, ideally outside to soak up some sunlight for that vitamin D boost we talked about. But here's the key. It wasn't just about walking. I told him to focus on how he moved, stand tall, swing his arms, breathe deeply, and notice the world around him. It sounds small, but it's not. This kind of movement does 3 things. It pumps oxygen-rich blood through your body, it signals your brain to release endorphins that lift your mood, and it strengthens the tiny blood vessels that keep your heart, brain, and sexual health firing on all cylinders. Within 2 weeks, Tom told me he felt awake for the first time in years. By month 2, he was walking farther, sleeping better, and, his words, feeling like a man who could show up for his wife again. Now, you might be thinking, "Doc, I'm no athlete. My knees creak, my back aches, and I don't have time to wander around every morning." I hear you. But movement doesn't mean punishment. If walking's not your thing, try stretching while you watch the news. 5 minutes of gentle squats, arm circles, or even standing up and sitting down repeatedly can wake up your system. The science backs this up. A 2023 study in the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity found that just 15 minutes of low-intensity movement daily improved blood flow by 22% in men over 60, and those men reported higher energy and better mood. Another study from the American Journal of Men's Health showed that regular movement, even light activity, boosted testosterone levels by up to 15% over 3 months. That's not theory. That's your body responding to what it's built for. But here's where it gets interesting. Movement doesn't just help your body, it rewires your mind. When you move, you're telling yourself, I'm still in the game. That's powerful. Tom started noticing little things, the smell of coffee on his walks, the way his dog trotted beside him, the grin on his wife's face when he suggested a weekend hike. Those moments weren't just physical, they were emotional. They reminded him he was still the man who could take charge, who could feel alive. So, step 1 is simple. Move your body every day, even if it's just a little. Pick something you enjoy, walking, gardening, dancing to an old song, and do it with intention. Make it a ritual, not a chore. Now, movement's a great start, but it's only part of the equation. Your body needs fuel, not just food, but the specific nutrients that amplify the work of those vitamins we talked about last time. Most men over 60 are eating the standard American diet, too much processed junk, not enough of what their bodies crave. Let's talk about a nutrient that's often overlooked but critical for energy and performance: magnesium. This mineral is like the unsung hero of men's health. It works hand in hand with vitamin D to support muscle function, blood flow, and testosterone production. Yet, studies show over 50% of older adults don't get enough. I remember sitting with a patient named Carl, a 71-year-old former teacher who came to me complaining of muscle cramps, low energy, and trouble sleeping. "Doc, I'm doing everything right," he said. "I eat my vegetables, I take my vitamins, but I feel like I'm running on fumes." We ran some tests and his magnesium levels were low, not uncommon, especially for men who rely on processed foods or take medications like statins that can deplete it. Magnesium is critical because it helps your muscles relax, supports healthy blood pressure, and regulates the stress hormone cortisol, which can sap your energy and drive when it's out of balance. Carl's diet wasn't bad, but it was missing magnesium-rich foods like leafy greens, nuts, and whole grains. We added a simple plan: a handful of pumpkin seeds daily, a spinach salad a few times a week, and a high-quality magnesium glycinate supplement before bed. Within a month, Carl was sleeping through the night, his cramps were gone, and he had this spark in his eyes when he talked about taking his wife dancing again. Here's why magnesium matters. It's a cofactor for over 300 enzymatic reactions in your body, including those that produce energy and regulate blood flow. Without enough, your muscles can't recover properly, your blood vessels tighten, and your testosterone production slows. A 2022 study in Nutrients found that men over 60 with higher magnesium intake had better erectile function and higher energy levels compared to those with deficiencies. And here's the kicker: stress, alcohol, and even coffee can deplete your magnesium faster than you realize. So, how do you get more? Start with food: spinach, almonds, avocados, black beans. If you need a supplement, go for magnesium glycinate or citrate, not oxide, which is poorly absorbed. Take it at night. It'll help you sleep better too. But it's not just about throwing supplements at the problem. You need to make these nutrients part of your life, not a one-off fix. Carl started carrying a small bag of pumpkin seeds in his car for snacks. He'd toss a handful into his oatmeal or eat them during a ball game. Small changes, big results. And that's the thing. None of this is about massive overhauls. It's about stacking small, intentional habits that add up, like Tom's walks, Carl's seeds, or even just drinking a full glass of water first thing in the morning to kickstart your system. These habits don't just support your body, they remind you that you're still in control. Before we move on, let me address something I hear a lot. "Doc, I don't have time for all this." I get it. Life's busy. Grandkids, errands, maybe you're still working. But here's the truth. You don't need hours. 5 minutes of stretching, a handful of nuts, a short walk, these are investments that pay off tenfold. And if you're thinking, "I'm too old to start now," let me tell you about a study from the Journal of Gerontology in 2024. Men over 65 who started light exercise and improved their nutrient intake saw measurable improvements in energy, mood, and even libido within just 6 weeks. Your body is ready to respond. You just have to give it the signal. Now, you might be wondering, okay, movement and magnesium sound doable, but what's the next piece of the puzzle? It's not just about your body. It's about your mind. Aging can make you feel like you're losing ground, like the world's moving on without you. That's not just a feeling. It's a mindset that can hold you back. And there's a way to flip that switch, to rebuild not just your strength, but your sense of purpose. Let's talk about that next. Let's talk about something that doesn't get enough airtime: your mind. You might be moving your body, eating the right foods, getting your magnesium and vitamins. But if your head's not in the game, it's like driving a car with the parking brake on. I've seen it time and again. Men like you, strong, capable, with years of wisdom, but carrying a weight they don't always talk about. It's that quiet voice in the back of your mind saying, "I'm not what I used to be," or "Maybe this is just how it is now." That voice? It's not just a thought, it's a thief. It steals your confidence, your drive, and your ability to show up fully for the people you love. But here's the truth. You can silence that voice. You can rebuild not just your body, but the way you see yourself. And it starts with something so simple it might surprise you. Meet David, a 67-year-old accountant who walked into my office last year with a look I've seen too many times, part frustration, part resignation. "Doc," he said, sitting stiffly in the chair, "I'm doing the walks, I'm eating better, but I still feel stuck. I'm tired all the time, not just in my body, but in my spirit. I don't know if I've got it in me to keep up with my wife or my life anymore." David wasn't lazy. He was disciplined, tracking his steps, taking his supplements like clockwork. But something was missing. His body was on board, but his mind was stuck in neutral. We talked for a while, and I asked him a question. When was the last time you did something just because it made you feel alive? He paused, then admitted it had been years. That was the real problem. Not his diet, not his exercise, but a mindset that had started to shrink his world. Your mindset shapes everything. It's not some fluffy self-help buzzword, it's biology. When you feel defeated, your brain pumps out stress hormones like cortisol, which tank your energy, suppress testosterone, and make it harder for your body to use those nutrients we've been talking about. A 2024 study in psychoneuroendocrinology found that men over 60 with a negative outlook on aging had lower testosterone levels and worse physical performance than those who saw aging as a challenge to conquer. David's problem wasn't just physical, it was that he'd stopped believing he could feel strong again. So, we started small. I asked him to try one thing. Every morning after his walk, he'd write down one thing he was proud of from the day before. Maybe it was fixing a leaky faucet, making his wife laugh, or just getting out of bed when he didn't feel like it. The point wasn't the act, it was training his brain to notice his strength. Within a few weeks, David started to change. He told me about a moment that stuck with him. He'd written down how he'd helped his grandson build a model rocket, and for the first time in years, he felt useful, capable. That one shift, focusing on what he could do instead of what he couldn't, started a chain reaction. He began saying yes to things he'd avoided, like joining his wife for a dance class. He wasn't Fred Astaire, but he showed up, and the smile on her face lit something up in him. His energy improved, not because his diet changed, but because his mind did. He was telling his brain, "I'm still here," and his body followed suit. That's the power of mindset. It's not about pretending everything's perfect. It's about choosing to see yourself as a man who's still got fight left in him. Now, don't get me wrong, mindset alone won't fix everything. You need the right fuel to keep that fire burning. And there's one nutrient we haven't talked about yet that's critical for men over 60, especially when it comes to stamina, immunity, and yes, your performance in the bedroom. It's zinc, and if you're not paying attention to it, you're missing a key piece of the puzzle. Zinc is like the mechanic that keeps your body's engine running smoothly. It supports testosterone production, strengthens your immune system, and helps your body repair itself, muscles, blood vessels, everything. Yet, studies show that up to 30% of older adults are deficient in zinc, often because their diets lack it or their bodies don't absorb it as well as they used to. I'll never forget meeting George, a 70-year-old retired electrician who came to me because he felt like he was fading. He was tired, catching colds constantly, and frustrated that his drive, what he called his spark, was gone. "Doc," he said, "I used to be the guy who'd fix anything, who'd sweep my wife off her feet. Now I feel like I'm letting her down, and I don't know why." We checked his levels, and sure enough, his zinc was low. It's not uncommon. Aging, stress, and even medications like antacids can deplete it. Zinc is critical because it's directly tied to testosterone. A 2023 study in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism found that men over 60 with adequate zinc levels had 20% higher testosterone and better erectile function than those who were deficient. It also helps your body produce enzymes that repair tissue and fight inflammation, which is crucial for keeping your blood vessels flexible and your energy high. So, how do you get more zinc? Food's your first stop. Oysters are the gold standard. George laughed when I told him they're nature's aphrodisiac, but he started eating them once a week. Other great sources are beef pumpkin seeds, which also give you magnesium, and lentils. If you're vegetarian or don't eat these often, a high-quality zinc picolinate supplement, about 15-30 milligrams daily with a meal, can make a difference. But here's the catch. Don't overdo it. Too much zinc can mess with your copper levels, which can cause other problems. George started small, adding a zinc-rich dinner a few times a week. Think a steak with a side of lentils or a handful of pumpkin seeds as a snack. And within a month, he was sleeping better, fighting off colds, and telling me, with a shy grin, that his wife had noticed a difference in the bedroom. "Doc," he said, "I feel like I'm back in the driver's seat." Now, zinc and mindset are powerful, but they work best when you pair them with intention. That means building habits that stick, not just chasing quick fixes. For David, it was his morning journal. For George, it was keeping a small jar of pumpkin seeds on his kitchen counter, a reminder to eat a handful daily. These aren't big moves, they're deliberate ones. And that's the key. Small, consistent choices that tell your body and mind you're not done yet. I've seen men who thought their best days were behind them start to glow again, not because they turned back the clock, but because they took control of the time they have now. But there's one more piece to this puzzle, something that ties it all together and takes your vitality to the next level. It's not just about what you eat or how you think, it's about connection. Not just with your partner, but with yourself, your purpose, the people who matter most. Aging can feel like it pulls you away from those things, but there's a way to pull them back. Let's explore that next. Imagine sitting across from someone you love, your wife, your partner, maybe even your grown kids, and feeling not just present, but alive. Not just going through the motions, but laughing, listening, sharing a moment that reminds you why you fought so hard to build the life you have. That's what connection does. It's not just a warm, fuzzy feeling. It's the glue that holds everything we've talked about together. Your movement, your nutrients, your mindset. Without it, you're building a house with no foundation. I've seen men transform their energy, their strength, their confidence. But the ones who truly come alive are the ones who reconnect with their loved ones, their purpose, and most importantly, themselves. That's what we're diving into today. Because if you're over 60 and feeling like life's pulling you away from the people and passions that matter, I'm here to tell you, you can pull them back. Let me introduce you to Mike, a 68-year-old former salesman who walked into my clinic last spring with a story I've heard too many times. "Doc," he said, his voice low, "I've got no complaints about my life. My kids are grown, my wife's my best friend, but I feel like I'm fading out of the picture. I'm there, but I'm not there. I'm tired, I'm distracted, and when my wife reaches for me, I pull back. Not because I don't love her, but because I don't feel like the man she deserves." Mike wasn't just talking about his body, he was talking about his spirit. He'd lost that sense of connection that used to light him up, whether it was joking with his buddies over coffee, dancing with his wife at their daughter's wedding, or even feeling proud of the man he saw in the mirror. That loss wasn't just emotional, It was physical too, because your body and your relationships are more linked than you might think. Connection starts with your body, but it's fueled by your heart, literally and figuratively. One of the most powerful ways to support both is a nutrient you've probably heard about but might not realize is a game changer for men over 60, omega-3 fatty acids. These healthy fats, found in fish like salmon, mackerel, and sardines, are like oil for your body's engine. They reduce inflammation, keep your blood vessels flexible, and support your brain's ability to stay sharp and emotionally resilient. Inflammation is a silent killer for men over 60. It stiffens your arteries, saps your energy, and even messes with your mood, making you feel disconnected or irritable without knowing why. A 2024 study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that men over 60 with higher omega-3 intake had a 25% lower risk of heart issues and reported better mood and cognitive clarity compared to those with low levels. Omega-3s also support testosterone production indirectly by reducing cortisol, that stress hormone we talked about earlier that can tank your drive. Mike's diet wasn't terrible. He ate his vegetables, took his vitamins, but fish wasn't a regular part of it. Like a lot of guys, he leaned on red meat or processed snacks, which can increase inflammation over time. We started simple. I asked him to eat fatty fish twice a week, like grilled salmon or canned sardines on a salad. If fish wasn't his thing, he could try a high-quality fish oil supplement. Look for one with at least 1,000 milligrams of EPA and DHA combined, taken with a meal for better absorption. I also suggested walnuts or flax seeds for plant-based omega-3s, though they're less potent. Within a month, Mike noticed a difference. "Doc," he told me at his follow-up, "I'm sleeping deeper. I'm not snapping at my wife over nothing, and I've got this energy I haven't felt in years." But the real win. He started initiating moments with his wife, holding her hand during a movie, planning a weekend getaway. It wasn't just the omega-3s, it was the spark they reignited in him, the sense that he could show up fully again. Now, omega-3s are powerful, but they're only part of the equation. Connection isn't just about your body feeling better, it's about what you do with that energy. For Mike, it started with small gestures. I gave him a challenge. Every day, do one thing to connect with someone he cared about. It could be calling an old friend, writing a note to his wife, or even just sitting down with his grandson to hear about his day. The point wasn't the act itself, it was the habit of showing up. Connection is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And the science backs this up. A 2023 study in the Journal of Gerontology showed that men over 60 who maintained strong social ties had lower rates of depression, better physical health, and even improved sexual function compared to those who felt isolated. Connection doesn't just feel good, it keeps you alive. But let's get real for a second. Rebuilding connection isn't always easy, especially if you've been pulling back for a while. Maybe you're worried about rejection, or you feel like you've lost that spark with your partner. That's where vulnerability comes in. Not weakness, but strength. I asked Mike to try something that scared him a little. Talk to his wife about how he'd been feeling. Not a big dramatic speech, just honesty. One night, over dinner, he told her, "I've been feeling off, and I hate that I haven't been the husband I want to be. I'm working on it, and I want us to do this together." That conversation wasn't easy, but it changed everything. His wife didn't just hear him, she felt seen too. They started taking evening walks together, not to exercise, but to talk, to laugh, to remember why they'd fallen in love. Those walks became their ritual, and Mike said they brought back a closeness he thought was gone for good. Connection isn't just about your partner, though. It's about you, too. I see so many men over 60 who've lost touch with what makes them feel alive. Maybe you used to love fixing cars, playing guitar, or cooking for your family, but life got in the way. Reclaiming that is part of this journey. Take my patient Sam, a 72-year-old widower who'd spent years focused on work and raising his kids, only to find himself alone and aimless in retirement. "Doc," he said, "I don't know who I am anymore without my job or my wife." Sam wasn't guessed. I suggested he try something he'd always wanted to do but never had time for. For him, it was woodworking. He started small, building a birdhouse in his garage. It wasn't perfect, but every time he sanded a piece of wood or hammered a nail, he felt a piece of himself come back. That birdhouse led to a bookshelf, then a table, and soon he was teaching his grandson how to carve. Sam wasn't just building furniture, he was building purpose. Here's the thing. Connection, whether it's with your partner, your friends, or yourself, doesn't happen by accident. It's a choice, just like taking your vitamins or going for that walk. And it's not about grand gestures. It's about showing up day after day in small ways. Maybe it's calling a buddy to watch the game, signing up for a class at the community center, or just looking in the mirror and saying, "I'm still here, and I'm not done yet." Those choices stack up, and they don't just change your day, they change your life. Now, you might be thinking, "Doc, this all sounds great, but how do I make it stick? How do I take everything you've shared, vitamins, movement, magnesium, zinc, omega-3s, mindset, connection, and turn it into something real?" That's where it all comes together. Picture a man named John, a 66-year-old retired firefighter I worked with last year. John was skeptical when he first came to me. "I've tried diets, I've tried pills," he said. "What's different this time?" What was different was that we didn't just throw solutions at him, we built a rhythm. Every morning, John drank a glass of water, took his vitamin D3 and B12, and went for a 15-minute walk. At lunch, he added a handful of walnuts or a salmon salad for omega-3s. At night, he took his magnesium and zinc with dinner. He started writing down one thing each day that made him feel proud. Sometimes, it was as simple as mowing the lawn. And he made a point to connect, whether it was a phone call to his son or a coffee date with his wife. Nothing fancy, just consistent. 6 months later, John walked into my office with a grin I hadn't seen before. "Doc," he said, "I'm not 30 again, but I feel like me, the real me. I'm sleeping better, I've got energy to play with my grandkids, and my wife says I'm more present than I've been in years." John's story isn't unique. It's what happens when you stack these habits together. The vitamins rebuild your foundation, movement wakes up your body, magnesium and zinc keep your engine running, omega-3s protect your heart and mind, mindset shifts your perspective, and connection gives it all meaning. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. So, here's my challenge to you. Start today. Pick one thing from everything we've talked about. Maybe it's a morning walk, a handful of walnuts, a note to someone you love, or just a moment to remind yourself you're still in the fight. Do it with intention, and then add another piece tomorrow. You're not just building health, you're building a life. And if you're sitting there wondering if it's too late, let me tell you what I've told every man who sat across from me. It's not. You've got time to feel strong, to feel connected, to feel like the man you've always been. You've already taken the first step by watching this video. Now take the next one. If this spoke to you, hit that like button. It lets us know this is hitting home. Share it with a friend, a brother, someone who needs to hear this, and drop a comment below. Tell me what resonated, what you're going to try, or what you want to hear about next. Your voice shapes this community. If you want to support the channel and help us keep this going, consider a small donation. It fuels better research and reaches more men like you. You're not just watching, you're part of a movement. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.